Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to my review of tonight's edition of Smackdown. And tonight's Smackdown was, of course, from the Barclays Center. You know, all week WWE has been there for a SummerSlam weekend. And it pretty much ended tonight with Smackdown. So now SummerSlam weekend has finally, come to an end, sadly. But I gotta say, tonight's SmackDown, I thought it was, an okay show. In my opinion, I have to say it was better than Raw. And so the show opened up tonight with the Miz and Maurice coming out. Miz says, 2 nights ago at SummerSlam, something, happened, and he has a family, to take care of, take care. And he's getting all emotional and pretty much crying, whining in the ring. And he goes to say that he officially announces his retirement. And the Brooklyn crowd was chanting yes, 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 to that. But then the Miz swerves everyone and says, he announces his retirement of ever facing Daniel Bryan again. And he goes on to say the 8-year saga of him and Daniel has come to an end. And Miz says, he said what he was going to do. And he beat Daniel Bryan at a sold-out Barclays Center at SummerSlam. And Miz ends up saying, Daniel gave him everything that he had. And all he had to do was lay Daniel out with one punch. And that's exactly, what he did. And Miz ends up saying he punched Daniel in the face. And when he did, he pinned him. And so Daniel Bryan comes out and says to Miz, he ends up calling Miz a coward. And Miz says to Daniel, it will never say coward in the record books. And that he is comparable to Daniel in every single way. And he ends up telling him that he will never have a chance, that Daniel will never have a chance to go up against him anymore. And Daniel Bryan ends up telling Miz to shut up. And he says he's going to expose Miz, what he really is. And he ends up saying that Miz is a Hollywood star cosplaying as a wrestler. And so the crowd was like, oh, because of that. And Maurice ends up telling Daniel to go home and retire again. And change his name to Daniel Bella. And so Daniel Bryan is not too, thrilled at what Maurice had to say. And so Brie Bella comes out, and got a big pop from the crowd. Brie Bella comes out, and punches Miz. Then we see Daniel Bryan come in and clotheslines Miz out of the ring. And so Daniel Bryan says to Miz that he ended up talking to Paige. And he says that at Hell in a Cell, him and the Miz are in a match. And it's not the two of them, going at it. It's going to be a mixed tag team match between him and Brie and Miz and Maurice. So, we got our first announced match for Hell in a Cell tonight. Already, WWE is already planning, for Hell in a Cell with this this first match announced for it. Mixed tag team match between Brie Bella and Daniel Bryan versus The Miz and Maurice. So, but yeah, I gotta say, it was a decent opening to SmackDown tonight with The Miz and Maurice. I was really happy to see Brie Bella there. End up punching The Miz. Then when SmackDown came back from commercial, Miz runs into Paige, and he's furious about the match that she made for Hell in a Cell. And Miz ends up saying to Paige that she is the worst GM of SmackDown, like Daniel Bryan was. And Paige says, the match is still taking place, and it's going to be awesome. And that was the backstage segment with them. Then we had the first match, Randy Orton versus Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy finally getting his hands on Randy Orton after all the shit that Orton has done to Jeff over the past weeks. And this was a decent match. This was an enjoyable match, although it ended pretty bad. It ruined the match, though. Sorry about that, but I was saying the end of the Randy Orton Jeff Hardy match kind of ruined the match, in my opinion. But it was a decent match, in my opinion. Randy Orton ended up getting the win by disqualification because Jeff Hardy ended up stomping Orton in the nuts. And so after the match, Jeff Hardy ended up throwing Randy Orton over the announce table, and Jeff Hardy ended up throwing Orton into the ring post, throws him over the barricade, and they start battling into the WWE Universe crowd there at the Barclays. And we see, Jeff ends up hitting Orton with a chair, and he ends up putting Orton on a table. He ends up hitting Orton with a mini camera, which we saw, and Jeff Hardy climbs up this sort of whatchamacallit, like one of those big boxes, or I forgot what you call them though, but he climbs up on there. He ends up hitting a swanton bomb on Randy Orton. Orton goes through the table, and that was how what happened after the match. So, but all in all, it was a decent match, but the end kind of ruined it with the disqualification. But it's not going to be the last time we see of Orton and Jeff Hardy. So then after that match, we had Renee Young interviewing Cesaro and Sheamus the Bar about the tag team championship match tonight with New Day and the Bludgeon Brothers. And the both of them say whoever wins tonight, the Bar wants to take, they want to take on next. And so in comes Gallows and Anderson, Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson. They say, they will be the next challengers for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. And that if, Cesaro and Sheamus, the Bar, has a problem with that, they will take it up in the ring. And so the Bar says next week they will take on Gallows and Anderson. So there you go. Match happening next week. The Bar versus Gallows and Anderson. And what they advertised, for tonight, last night on Raw, they said that this was a special edition of SmackDown. So, and then we had Peyton Royce versus Naomi. Before the match even started, Peyton Royce and Billie Kay come out. Say, oh, let's play a guessing game. And they say that Brooklyn is a dumpster fire. the Brooklyn crowd is, dumpster fire, and they say Naomi is not iconic. And so match got underway. The match itself, it was meh, in my opinion. Peyton Royce ended up getting the win with a fisherman suplex to Naomi. There was a point in the match where Billy Kay was interfering during the match. So yeah, Peyton Royce got the win. But it was a meh match, in my opinion. Then we had the New Day was backstage, and Big E's ribs were still hurting him, and they just talked about saying, oh, tonight they're going to take back the tag team championships and be five-time tag team champions. So that was a backstage segment with New Day. Then we had Becky Lynch come out, and yeah, this is what I want to talk about here. Becky Lynch comes out and says, she deserves to be standing, the women's champion, and Charlotte deserved the beating she gave her at SummerSlam. Becky ends up saying, she fought away for months, which is true, and earned an opportunity against Carmella, which it should have originally been. And she said when Charlotte stole the match from her, the crowd got up and applauded her. And she says, she has been made an afterthought. I did not see, the crowd applaud Charlotte, for that, because they were all behind. The crowd was behind Becky, for that whole match. And Becky said, she decided to take action, and she knew Charlotte was holding her back, and that she stole her spotlight and moment, which I got to agree on. I got to agree with Becky on that. And she's like, and then Becky was like, it was supposed to be her moment. And it was just Becky, just make a statement about Charlotte. And Charlotte ended up coming out. She ended up coming out to a crowd of boos. From what I heard on the TV and the crowd, and the crowd was cheering for Becky. This is supposed to be Becky's heel persona, and I really like this Becky Lynch. This was Becky Lynch when she was in this was NXT Becky when she was down there, where she had her heel persona down there. Which was awesome. And from what we saw tonight, I gotta say, even though I said in my SummerSlam review, this heel turn is gonna lead to Becky, having much more to do as a heel. But after seeing tonight and with the crowd cheering for Becky, I gotta say, this heel turn is possibly not going to work. Because, Becky is so over with the crowd. People love Becky. And if, they continue with this heel persona for Becky, it's not going to work. This just reminds me of when Stone Cold Steve Austin was a heel, back in 2001. And, I'm not, I know people are going to say, oh, you're comparing Stone Cold to Becky Lynch. Why? I don't know. It just reminds me of that. It's two different, superstars. But, it just kind of reminded me of that. Where Austin was cheered by the crowd when he was a heel. That's how I see with Becky Lynch. Well, I saw with Becky tonight, and we all know how that turned out with Austin being a heel. in 2001. So, but yeah, I have to say it's not going to work. The Becky Lynch heel turn, it's not going to work, in my opinion. But all in all, it was a good segment from Becky. And then the next match, it was Rusev and Lana versus Andrade, Cien, Almas, and Zelina, Vega, mixed tag team match, the rematch from the SummerSlam kickoff show. And this match, it was meh, in my opinion. It was the same match that we saw on the kickoff show at SummerSlam. But in the end, we had Andrade going to come in with the steel chair, with a chair, and Aiden English ends up coming out, and he ends up taking away the chair from Andrade, and Rusev ends up laying out on Andrade with a Machka kick, and Rusev and Lana win the match. Rusev ended up locking in the accolade on Andrade. So Rusev and Lana get a win against Andrade and Zelina Vega. So, but all in all, it was the same match that we saw, at SummerSlam on the kickoff show on Sunday. So then we had Renee Young interviewing AJ Styles about what happened at SummerSlam. Styles ends up saying SummerSlam didn't end the way he wanted to, and that, he doesn't regret what he did to Samoa Joe. He ends up saying that Samoa Joe ended up crossing the line. And he ends up saying that he broke a promise. And he promises to the WWE Universe and his family. And he says next time Samoa Joe talks about his family, he's going to rip his heart out. And then so Samoa Joe comes out of nowhere and locks in the coquina clutch on Styles, makes Styles pass out. And so Joe gets on the mic and says to Styles' wife, Wendy, that Daddy's gone, night night. So, but all in all, it was a decent segment with AJ Styles. Then we had Carmella coming into Paige's office. Paige says to Carmella that she must have lost some weight. And Carmella says she demands her rematch, one-on-one. And so R-Truth ends up coming in and says he's getting the title match and pinning Carmella. I'm like, this is funny, but stupid at the same time. And Paige ends up saying to Carmella that, Carmella's going to get a rematch with Charlotte next week. So we all know Charlotte's going to win it. So no way in hell that Carmella is going to win back the SmackDown Women's Championship. Then we had the main event. Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, New Day versus Harper and Rowan, the Bludgeon Brothers for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. This was a Brooklyn street fight. And this was a good main event. This was a very enjoyable main event. It was back and forth between both of these teams. Chairs were being thrown into the ring. You had ladders being used. And it was just enjoyable. Very enjoyable match. Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, the New Day, got the win. Xavier ended up hitting a elbow drop to Harper through the table, pin count, and the New Day are now 5-time tag team champions, and it's awesome. It's really awesome. And I know the reason why the Bludgeon Brothers had to drop the SmackDown tag team championships is because Rowan is injured, and he suffered this injury at SummerSlam. And with this injury, Rowan's going to be out 4 to 6 months. So, because from what I read in the article, they took him off the live event shows. And so, that's pretty much why the New Day won the SmackDown Tag Team Championships tonight, because of Rowan's injury. So, but all in all, really happy for a New Day. It was a good main event, a really enjoyable main event, really enjoyable street fight. So, yeah, it was enjoyable. So yeah, so anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's edition of SmackDown. Thank you all for watching, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all tomorrow night for Lucha Underground review. So I will see you all tomorrow night for that review.